Can you hear me, JJ?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Fantastic. Thank you for spending some time with us today ahead of Speed Weeks next week. If you know you have a question for JJ, please go ahead and raise your hand within the Zoom platform, or you can type us a chat. We will be monitoring both. But just to start us off here, JJ, just what are your thoughts going into a new season, new car? What are you thinking?
Well, obviously glad to be back in with another opportunity to try to make the Daytona 500. There's a lot of excitement going into 2022 with the new cars. It's essentially a level playing field that we probably haven't seen, or at least in my career in NASCAR. So that is phenomenal. And just the excitement that's around the 2022 NASCAR season, the buzz going into Daytona. I mean, the fact that the attendance, the infield sold out, the race is sold out. It seems like we have a bunch of sponsors wanting to come and be back a part of our sport. Is great. So to be back and have an opportunity when our sport is really thriving right now is my main goal.
All right, we will take our first question now from Justin Palmer. Go ahead, Justin.
Hey, JJ, speaking of sponsorship, you brought on Hex.com for this weekend. How did that come about, and what's kind of the opportunity that they've provided you with this team?
Well, so far it's been kind of a whirlwind. I've expanded the amount of people and groups I've been working with on trying to locate sponsorship. The deal really came together pretty fast and pretty late, unfortunately, for the way everything turned out. But the more I've learned about the cryptocurrency, obviously it's an ever-changing scenario. And for Hex.com, they're more or less on the investment side of things, almost taking over for the CDs that people used to invest on and only get 2% refund. And now with the way their cryptocurrency is set up, you can stake from 1 day to 5,555 days, which is almost a little over 15 years, which is crazy. But their return is so much higher than the traditional types of investing. So as our sport is growing and you see a lot more of these companies coming into NASCAR, they thought it was just a great idea. Obviously getting onto the largest platform being the Daytona 500, and just the communication with them and the excitement of, there's almost 77,000 stakeholders in Hex. They are unbelievably supportive and excited about what's to come, here in 9 days, really. So, we were able to get the number changed to 55, which, covers what they're looking for. And, really just trying to put together the best effort, because things came together late. It was difficult finding a car. I mean, that's been the biggest concern and issue for the Cup cars, is there's just a lack of equipment as they continue to build, the parts and pieces that they need for this the new Cup car. So, big teams didn't have the inventory to just fire off a car, especially with this being a great sponsorship opportunity, as well as, trying to grow it into more races. And, through a lot of conversations, met with Carl Long, NBM Motorsports. They were lucky enough to have their second car, 85% completed. And, having a teammate with Timmy Hill, obviously means a lot going into a speedway race. So it just made the most sense to really put something together, having support from Ford, knowing again that, we have the same engines that, Penske, Stewart, Haas, you name it. Again, takes you back to almost the most level playing field that we've seen in decades.
Now, this will be your 7th appearance in the 500 should you make the field. And this is also, I believe, your 17th or 18th team now in the NASCAR Cup Series. What does that say about your longevity in the sport and how you've managed to stick around for so long in the Cup Series?
Well, I mean, hopefully it shows that I'm, I have a lot of perseverance in my life and my career. This will be my 18th season in NASCAR. And again, I've been with, some big teams, and then I've also, fought for the little teams and to get the most performance out of the equipment that I'm given. And, right now I have, the opportunity to run for the Daytona 500 with NBM. We've just inked a deal where I'm going to run their Xfinity car for the full 2022 season. So, it's tough because, again, our sport continues to change. It's driven by sponsorship dollars. And, you have to, as a veteran, I have to be able to show that I can give the value not only to the team, but to the sponsors. And, I feel like I've done a really good job of that for a very long time, but it's still tough. So, knowing that I still have the fire inside myself, that I want to go out there on a weekly basis and put it on the line and get the best finish and maximize, again, the performance of the equipment. And, the sponsors we've put together are excited about the opportunities to continue their support of my career and hopefully go out there and put ourselves in a good position to, get top tens, be consistent, and then, again, try to win races.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go next to Dustin Long. Go ahead, Dustin.
Hey, JJ, I want to get your perspective as somebody who came up through dirt USAC ranks. Certainly, we're seeing more Cup owners open to that idea now, allowing their Cup drivers to do it. Was it Alex Bowman did the World of Outlaws race last night? We've seen what Larson's done, Chase Elliott, and so forth. From your perspective, how has that mindset changed? How have you seen that kind of evolution? And does it make you wonder if you'd had that opportunity to do both, that it would have helped you, or it was best to focus when you were full-time in the series?
Well, I think it's come to the situation where, Kyle Larson has kind of changed that mindset of your Cup owners. When I was at Gibbs and was a teammate of Tony Stewart, Tony literally spent more time asking for forgiveness than he did permission, just because he's Tony Stewart and that's how he behaves. There's a lot of invested into the driver between, sponsorship and everything that comes along with it. And knowing that you could go get injured racing a dirt sprint car, more or less for fun, wasn't worth the risk for the sponsorship. Now, the exposure that, Kyle Larson has gotten because of the things he's done, is great. It's great. It's a leverage point for Hendrick, I think, from sponsorship aspect, or not only that, or just, him being a champion. I think it still can turn into a situation where there's a lot of risk going open wheel racing. Not that there's not risk, racing in general. But for me, I felt like it was definitely more important to focus on NASCAR, knowing that I'd already won races, won championships, kind of filled, my career with what I needed to move on and really focus on that. Not that I still don't love dirt racing. It's still a huge passion of mine. I love talking about and working on them and driving them, but it has to make sense sometimes. So, I think that's why a lot of guys still go do the Chili Bowl. The speeds are down. It's a smaller racetrack. The chances of, severe injury are a lot lower than that if we, went to a place like Eldora or a big half mile in a car that's running, roughly 180 miles an hour, that unfortunately, when they start flipping, it takes a long time for them to stop. So it's exciting, I think, for guys like Chase Elliott to go try to do something different. And, obviously with the tutelage of Kyle, he can put him in equipment in positions that, he can go out there, have fun, know that it's safe, but still trying to keep that risk down to a minimum. And I'm sure, him flipping at the Chili Bowl probably put a little bit more worry into the guys over there at Hendrick Motorsports.
Also, just with the Chili Bowl, you've seen how that's just blossomed and grown through the years. And, I know this year was first year they were allowing drivers under 16. I think there were a few 13-year-olds racing. Can you just give me kind of your perspective of how that event's grown, and just the how young the drivers are and how quickly they seem to be moving up to that rank? And is that almost too quick in some sense?
I think it is in some sense. I know that you go back probably 5-7 years, the Chili Bowl and Emmett Hahn put a restriction on the age just for that reason, knowing that, there was guys that just didn't have the experience, that didn't need to be out there. And at that point, they were trying to cap, I think, the car count of really getting a lot of guys out there that didn't have the experience. As our sport evolves and changes, there's a lot of really good young talent out there that race, 100 times a year, that have the experience and don't want to rob them of those opportunities, because again, the way our sport works, if you have the funding and you have the ability, there's a good opportunity by the age of 16, 17, 18, you're going to be working your way up the ladder and maybe miss out on some of those opportunities. So, the way it was explained was, those drivers that were under the age of 16 had to meet with a board and Emmett and, more or less give them a resume and see how that worked out. And again, there was I think there was some young guys that were from the Oklahoma area that wanted to really race, and I think enough pressure was put on the Chili Bowl to kind of take a look at that and, you know, allow some of those guys that had the talent and give them the shot to come to Chili Bowl.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? All right, JJ, thank you again. Oh, wait, we'll go back to Justin Farmer. Go ahead, Justin.
Hey, Jay, obviously this year we're gonna have a full 48 car field. We will have a couple of drivers going home. What's it going to take to make this year's 500?
You know, that's a tough one to answer. You know, obviously, again, looking at the equipment all being very equivalent, it is a good thing for a smaller team. You look at the teams that are having to race their way in, none of them really have a heavy affiliation with, you know, a bigger team. So, you know, there's always going to be relationships that people are going to lean on for questions of what we need to look for speed. And with the cars being new, you know, there's a lot of questions that still haven't been answered. So the amount of equipment and people and technology and the limit of, you know, basically the cars and how far behind they really are for us launching them into a full season, again, is so level. So it's going to be a situation where teams are going to luck into, you know, a situation. If it's a ride height, if it's an offset, you know, there's a lot of questions on, you know, the parameters that NASCAR is allowing us to work within. What is going to be the best package? You know, my hope is having a teammate that we can look at a couple different packages that are, you know, 180 out from each other and see where the speed sits, and you know, obviously go with the best package into qualifying. You know, as far as the race, there's so many unknowns on how these cars are really going to draft. You know, usually we have green flag pit stops that shakes up the field. Again, because the shortage of equipment, I don't know how hard or, you know, how pressing your guys that are locked in on charters and positions are really going to race, because you know, you hear some of the big teams again not having maybe enough equipment for a three race West Coast swing, that tearing up or destroying a car in a duel for a race, you know, for racing position really isn't worth it. So I mean, I think the biggest race is going to see the rest of us open guys trying to lock ourselves in.
Now, there is a possibility of you having to race your teammate, Timmy Hill, and I did ask him the same question. If you guys do find yourselves both on the outside looking in on Thursday and happen to be in the same duel, how are you guys going to race each other or to try to get into the transfer spot for the 500?
Well, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to go out there and crash my teammate just for, you know, a starting position, the Daytona 500. But, you know, when it comes down to that final 5-10 lap push and it's between the two of us, you know, obviously I'm going to do everything I can within my ability and, you know, the bag of tricks that I've accumulated over, you know, almost 2 decades of being at NASCAR to make sure that, you know, I can hex.com into the race and do what I have to for my sponsor and, you know, see what happens. You know, 2 years ago, I was in a locked in position and got crashed by another car in the middle of the back straightaway over something that was really silly. So, you know, anything can happen when you go to Daytona and get into these races. And again, it's going to be interesting to see just how hard everyone wants to push the envelope in the duels.
Thank you.
All right, JJ, thank you again for spending some time with us this morning, and we wish you the best of luck next week.
Certainly.
Daytona.
Thank you.